Hello, welcome to the Oral Reef. My name is Jasper Ora, my pronouns are he, they, and today we're going to discuss what Seahorse Parenting is. Seahorse Parenting is a term that's used within queer spaces to refer to trans men, transmasculine people, and non-binary people who choose to become parents. We will be discussing the fun parts of being a seahorse parent, as well as certain issues that trans people encounter when dealing with childbearing within our current healthcare system. Some of these issues range from transphobia to misinformation and disinformation regarding trans bodies and experiences, infantilization of trans men and transmasculine people, and just general issues that aren't necessarily exclusive to people in trans bodies, but definitely impact trans people a lot harder. I'm excited to be doing this video as this will be the first time I will be doing a video essay. So, I was introduced to the concept of seahorse parenting a couple days ago. I was trying to navigate the idea of parenting and childbearing without necessarily being tied to any gender norms. Personally, I still feel uncomfortable with being a parent in the current state of the country and of the world, but seahorse parenting provides community to an often ostracized sector of the population. I've had body image issues in the past that are mostly tied to gender dysphoria, and I still have some fallout from them to this day. While childbearing is a personal choice, and should be navigated between the person wanting a child, their doctor, and people who are close to them in their lives. Seahorse parenting can be a healing and powerful experience for trans people who do wish to become parents. Seahorse parenting should continue to be explored with understanding and curiosity by both the LGBTQ+ community and by the medical communities that are responsible for caring for trans people and advocating for them so that we can learn together and empower this often unheard and misunderstood group of people in our community. One of the issues I encounter most often in healthcare in general over my lifetime is transphobia. I have been gender nonconforming all of my life, and it took until I got to legal age for me to figure out I was trans, and I had already had a lot of fallout mental health-wise by that time. Basically, my pediatrician at the time waited until I was no longer her patient for me to get help. Never referred me or my family to specialists on trans medicine, never gave me or my parents resources. Even basic questions like, how do you see yourself in the world, would have been a good starting point at that time. Now, imagine someone like me gets the news that they're expecting. They may be out like myself, they may be out only to a group of people, or they may be closeted. Unfortunately, in our cis-normative culture, this person would likely head to an OBGYN practice and within a matter of minutes be surrounded by pink rooms and decorations, posters of pregnant women plastered across the office, and, in some cases, the paperwork that they are asked to fill out refers to themselves in foreign terms. And implies that this is their new reality and this is what they need to conform to from now on. The reason the concept of seahorse parenting resonates with me is because it puts the language and behaviors about our bodies and experiences in our court. The term derives from the fact male seahorses carry their own children. For a part of the opposition that loves to harp about how our existence contradicts science and nature, the scientific fact that seahorses carry and give birth to their young is a clapback. It also allows us to beg the question of whether or not a man would be so insistent on having children if they were the ones responsible for caring and bearing for those said children, and if the laws restricting reproductive care were to exist in that circumstance. When I read the story of a seahorse parent, I could not help to think of what we could do if other seahorse parents and parents-to-be joined together for a common cause. Fighting for trans reproductive rights, advocating for other trans parents, challenging the critics, and creating a more equitable healthcare system for all. It is also worth mentioning that identities do not exist in a vacuum. Often, trans folks who are also part of a historically marginalized community, encounter additional barriers to healthcare. Hospitals can be far, care could be expensive, some places may not have the trans-affirming healthcare they need to prepare to welcome a new life. We as a community need to understand these issues and be willing to work with them to get them the care that they need and deserve. Also, it is worth mentioning the amount of lecturing trans people have had to give, especially to their medical professionals. While self-advocacy is important, it can be tiring and triggering. As well as intended as it may be, trans people are not obligated to teach their providers how to care for them. Providers should be aware that in the medical field, they may encounter patients who will have personal beliefs, journeys, and boundaries that need to be respected. Some patients may prefer to have their body parts called a different name, or to avoid being touched in certain areas of the body. This kind of treatment is not exclusive to the trans population, but it does extend to it. Making it a habit to ask for pronouns, and if a person's name is different than that on the insurance card, for example, can show that you care for the patient. And, as mentioned previously, keeping areas like offices as welcoming as possible also helps. It helps to see other people like yourself depicted in PSAs and posters, and hopefully, as Seahorse parents become more mainstream, the idea of having a child in a body that transcends the binary will be more celebrated. An issue I am noticing a lot in public spaces in regards to trans rhetoric is the silencing and infantilization of transmasculine people. This kind of behavior has a lot of fallout, especially in regards to reproductive care. When someone is expecting a child, whether cis or trans, they want to have their needs heard. Sometimes, people frown upon trans people who want to bear a child, and believe that their desire to have a child erases their transness. Others ignore bodily concerns that are common with having a child, and this could potentially put a Seahorse parent at medical risk. Also, the fact that the parent is trans could also sometimes make others feel entitled to make decisions that should be up to the patient in their hands, solely on the basis of them being trans, because they quote-unquote do not know better. Alongside that, Seahorse parents may have needs exclusive to their life experiences, which should be respected and taken into account by healthcare providers. Providers can also help refer Seahorse parents to support groups that can help them navigate body image and queer parenthood, as well as issues common in parenting, like how to care for a newborn child, the importance of healthcare visits for parents and their child, finding pediatricians that are a good fit for the household and their needs, and promoting preventative care for both the child and the parent. These steps help the Seahorse parent to get educated, to create meaningful connections during their journey, to create allyship between queer parents and healthcare providers, and boost healthcare outcomes across the board. Having a group specifically for Seahorse parents can help them find individuals like themselves and removes the implied idea that bearing a child is an experience exclusive to cisgender women. While some patients might be okay mingling with cisgender mothers-to-be, some might want to avoid it altogether, and providing patients a space exclusive to their experience can mean a lot. While the topic of Seahorse parenting is broad, and some of the ideas surrounding Seahorse parenting are far from limited to the ones just presented, dipping one's toe in the water is already an excellent start. Seahorse parenting is yet more proof on how amazing and resilient bodies beyond the binary can be. Our society is still far from accommodating to those who experience life differently than what has been traditionally expected, and it is understandable why some people, cis or trans, or something beyond that, might be resistant to having a child. And due to that, advocacy is important. Whether it be birth control, family planning, or preparing to welcome a new life, people deserve to make an educated decision. As we navigate a chaotic time in both reproductive and gender-affirming healthcare, it helps to empower oneself, understand options, and keep fighting. The prospect of Seahorse parenting provides power to a marginalized community, and sharing why it matters could potentially change reproductive healthcare and healthcare as a whole. I hope Seahorse parenting can be a drop in the ocean that provides a ripple effect in healthcare for my LGBTQ+ family, and encourages further conversations,
actions, and change.